How are you guys? Good evening to all. It is Thursday, April 18th of the year 2024 for every single one of you that is watching. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue in our platforms. Good evening to all. Thank you so much for liking the page, sharing the video, and liking the video. We told you so, and it is not frustrating, but in a way it frustrates. Uh, we have been saying this for years. And as soon as a bigger platform comes and explains it, everybody's like, oh my God, nobody was talking about it. When we have been talking about it for years, we told you that this massive influx of immigrants coming in an irregular fashion into the United States of America was going to be a ticking bomb as soon as elections were going to come. We told you so. I remember clearly years ago, I told you this was going to be affecting the elections of the United States of America because of the white American mercenary progressive activist liberal. It is their fault. It is nobody else. It is the progressives. We told you so, that as soon as elections were going to come, the Black Lives Matter activists, the Antifa activists, the leftist progressive mercenary activist liberal was going to use our people, our Latino people, our migrants, for their political gain and votes and propaganda. We told you so. And the other day, many migrants were protesting for better conditions of living in New York City. I'm not using terminology like the leftist progressives, disgusting terminology that they use. And let me just address these people. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not creating hysteria. I'm not a fearmonger. I'm not a white supremacist, white imperialist, xenophobic, transphobic, homophobic, pronoun-phobic, fatphobic, racist, fascist, narcissist, bigot, Zionist, and creating violence. That's your defense mechanism. We told you so, that this was going to happen. And it's already happening. Do you think the migrants gathered all of them on their own and went to the New York Plaza just to stay there and say, we're going to protest? Somebody had to gather them. That's exactly what they do. These mercenary activists, they come to our country of Mexico, they agitate the migrants, and they use them to basically destabilize a border, to attack border patrol, to force their entry through several places. Ultimately, the cartel knows this in Mexico. And now it is happening in your country. This is going to get more critical as time advances. And as time, it is heading into the election time. They're going to use our people. These people are only using us. They're only using us. Nomás nos están usando para todos los latinos. Esta gente política de izquierda nada más nos está usando para su propaganda y sus votos políticos. They're only using us. That's the only way to say it. These leftist progressives, they're only using us for their political gain and propaganda. That's it. That's it. We are tired of the white American mercenary activist progressive liberal. We are sick and tired of your agenda, of your progressive gender agenda, all of the things that you advocate. We are sick and tired of it. But you know that the migrants are vulnerable. You know that they need better conditions in life. You know that they need to stay in the United States. So you are going to use that into your advantage. And it is a strategy for you to use them to radicalize the elections, to destabilize cities, and to make the opposition look like inhuman. That's your whole strategy. We already know where you're heading to, and you are going to use the vulnerable people to do that. You're going to use children, families, and also vulnerable situations of migrants that they came in through non-ports of entry, through the river, jumping a wall, through a place that is not a port of entry, through a place where there's no border, there's no gap, there is the ending of the wall. You're going to use that vulnerability for your advantage. And ultimately, when you use it, that is an advantage that you are going to use to basically attack the opposition. And the opposition has no way to defend themselves. Why? Because that is the strategy that you are going to use. And it's already happening. It's already, you're doing it right now. It is how the activists, all these NGOs, they have come into Latino countries and they have used their strategy in Central America and ultimately in all the places that they know that is the epicenter of distribution, and that from there they can start by educating the migrants of what to do, what not to do as soon as they go into the United States of America. This is the fault of the white American mercenary activist liberal, progressive activist liberal. Nobody else. These ones that they talk about white supremacy, white imperialism, they're the supremacists. They are the white supremacists. They are the white imperialists. They are the real racist. They're using us for their propaganda and to continue to fund these NGOs. Because if this crisis does not continue, if something gets fixed, they will not get funds. They will be defunded. And they will not get no funds anymore from federal grants, donations, because there's no crisis anymore. And that will be it. You will end this catastrophe. That will be it. You will not be using our people. That will be it. It's unbelievable what it's going to happen in the next incoming months. Uh, in the next incoming months, it will be really critical. And talking about elections, next incoming months is going to be really critical. Talking about elections, our platforms are being censored because elections are coming in. We already know what they do in election time. But in the next incoming months, this is going to get critical and more critical if they see that in a way, the opposition, the Republicans, are up in the polls. If they see that, they are going to basically use their strategy as they did with Black Lives Matter last year. They used the black community ultimately to create a racist, a race division. George Floyd incident happened. Sadly, that happened. That created a lot of division, and they used that into their advantage. Who? The Democrats. Ultimately, the Democrats. Every single thing that is caused by division, if you guys never read The Art of War, a book, it is a copy paste of what they're doing. The enemy, it's doing this. And ultimately, the manifesto of Karl Marx and Engels, if you have read it, this is one of the strategies for them to have the control of the state. You have to divide. And that's the way you take away power from the state and you create division. That's what's happening in the United States. This is a ticking bomb. And ultimately, as elections are going to come, as migrants are going to see that if the opposition, the Republicans, are up like 5 points, 10 points, 6 points, 7 points, what do you think is going to happen? Nobody wants to get deported. Nobody wants to get returned back to their country, right? What do you think is going to happen? And ultimately, not only that, the collateral effect that this is going to have, all the people that they are in their way to come, the influx of the Darien Gap has not stopped, has been continuous. There's more than 118,000 people, I think, till now, that they have crossed the Darien, still coming and coming and coming, risking their lives to continue to the journey, the horrible journey through Central America and Mexico, and then up into the northern borders. This, it is going to get critical, more critical as the time, and it is not creating hysteria like these stupid mercenary activist liberals say. No, it's not. You know what you're doing. You know that as soon as elections are going to come, the massive influx is going to grow because they're going to try to make it before elections are being done. And ultimately, not only that, the ones that they're already in, they don't want to get returned back. So it is going to create an instability inside, really difficult to control, really difficult to control. And why it's going to be really difficult to control? Because they're going to use the humanitarian strategy that everything that is being done that is according to the law, they're going to say that is violating human rights. That's what it is. Everything that is going to be, you're breaking the law. Yeah, but he has his human right to do this. He has his human right to do that. That's when you made the mistake of giving the United Nations the authority to be infested in your country. The Global Compact of Immigration, it is basically giving them the authority to manage every border until their comfort and their strategy and their way. This is what has happened. Now, the international human rights are the ones that are in power in protests and manifestations to destabilize and ultimately create that destabilize to basically win elections. You know that you have millions of people that are vulnerable, millions of our people, our Latino people, that you promised them that you were going to give them a better pathway, and this is the pathway that you promised them, crossing through the Darien and risking their lives, putting their lives in the hands of coyotes and traffickers, risking their lives on the back of a tractor trailer, crossing a desert, jumping a wall, crossing a river, risking their lives and their children. This is the better pathway of Joe Biden. The administration where more migrants have died between the limitations of Mexico and the United States. That's a reality. It is not a lie. That is the reality. And now that you know that you have millions of vulnerable people inside of the country, what are you going to do with them? Use them for your advantage. Use them for your advantage. And, it doesn't even surprise me if Joe Biden, coming close to the election times, or Joe Biden coming close to the debates, he says something about migrants need to gather themselves and make their voices heard. If he says something like that, it's done. There's going to be massive gatherings of people that they're going to listen to him and go against whatever the opposition says. We already suspected this. I told you this years ago. I told you this. This is the mercenary leftist progressive activist liberal. We know him. I know him. By design, I know how they think, how they act. I dealt with these people. They're disgusting. These people are the ones that they come over here. They create an instability in our country, in our cities, and then they go away. And by the way, they live out of the capitalist dollar. How ridiculous is that? They hate capitalism, but they live out of the capitalist dollar. How ridiculous is that? We knew that this was going to happen. Adding the fact, imagine this, adding the fact that you have now massive protests to stop the funding of Israel. Ultimately, stop, the situation in Gaza and Palestine and the Free Palestine protesters. Add that also, adding that, adding Antifa, adding the radical Black Lives Matter, adding all of these groups. This exactly what is happening to the United States, these mercenary groups, is exactly what happens in Venezuela, exactly what happens in Cuba, that there's no opposition. In Mexico, the opposition, it is disappearing. The opposition does not have any power anymore. The leftist progressives have the power. It is exactly what is happening in the United States of America. The mercenary progressive activist liberal is the one that has the power right now. and they're exercising their power with their leftist mercenary strategies. And they're going to use our people to protest. And if we call it the way it is, they're going to say, oh, this guy is so xenophobic. He's such a white supremacist. He's such a white imperialist. He betrayed his people. That's the strategy, to label you, to denigrate you, and to other people to recognize you in that way. And you will never be part of their friendly group. Never, 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 because you're a white supremacist. Of course, that's their strategy. But it's concerning of what they're doing to our people. They're using us for their propaganda. And I have said this multiple times. We are tired of these people coming into our countries and using us for their propaganda. I remember in 2016, 2015, that they were coming, hundreds of activists coming over here and using the Latinos to say, oh, the wall is bad, he's racist, he's that. Why are you coming to our country and protesting over here? Why do you come over here and bring your political trash over here? We have so many things that we need to worry about. So many things that we are worried about. We are worried about our economy. We're worried about the cartel. We're worried about insecurity. We are worried about growing in education. We're worried about growing as a country. Why you want to bring your political trash over here? Because they need us. They need us for their narrative. They need us for their propaganda. They need us for their strategy. Too bad that everybody knows what they're doing. Too bad for you, the mercenary activist liberal, that we know what you're doing. You're only using us. That's the only thing. You're not concerned about our people. If you were concerned about our people, you will fix and you try to fix the problem in their country so they will enjoy their country, their beautiful country. Do you know that Venezuela has one of the most beautiful beaches in the world? If you ask a Venezuelan migrant if the economy was okay in Venezuela, will they leave their country? They will say no, absolutely not. If you ask a Cuban migrant if they will leave Cuba if their economy was not communist, they will tell you absolutely not. If you will tell a migrant from Haiti that if the violence and insecurities will not be existing in Haiti and their economy was okay, what would they do? They will not migrate. And whether you like it or not, to these leftist, progressive, activist liberals, the country that has put an example to that, it is El Salvador. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to call Nayib Bukele an imperialist, go and ask the normal, average citizen if they agree with Nayib Bukele. I went over there and I asked hundreds of citizens. Citizens, I'm not asking politicians, citizens, the people, the ones that put in power the politicians, the ones that give you the funding. Those people, I asked them, do you agree with Nayib Bukele? And every single one of them was like, God bless our president. Keep him there. We need him. A country can get fixed? Yes, it can. By getting all these radical NGOs, all these international organizations, and cutting the funding and defunding them, and to all these white mercenary activist liberals, investigate them, and to the mercenary activist liberal, prosecute them of electoral interference in an international country. That's what needs to happen. These people, they are coming into our foreign countries and basically using our Latino people for their political gain and votes. Propaganda. Basically, that is what it is. They're not even concerned about the realities that our people are going through. They're not even concerned about the realities that our people are struggling with. They're not even concerned if people are dying in the Darien. I have walked 4 times the Darien Gap. 4 times. Being the only Latino that has walked 4 times that track. And I know what the suffering is about. I know, to see people, decomposed bodies, people almost drowning. That is a horrible scene. And to see our people struggle like that, with the lies of Joe Biden saying that he was going to create a better pathway for migrants. That's the pathway of death. Ultimately, when you finish the Darien, who's there to receive you? NGOs. who they're strategically put in attention centers to help you, yeah, to continue. But if we cannot continue, we're not going to get funds. So you need to vote for Biden. Remember that. It is the reality of the problem. We are being used. And remember this. Remember this video. Remember this video. Remember this video. When election times are coming, look what is going to come. Look to what is going to happen. I'm just predicting. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not creating hysteria. It's a prediction. Look what is going to happen. And you will know what is going to happen. When they see that they're losing, when they see that they're out of answers, out of questions, out of solutions, they're going to use us to destabilize the country, to make us look, and ultimately to win an election. That's what it's there for. It is just a strategy that it was willing to happen and that it was going to happen. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for, our platform. It is nice to hear from you guys on this morning. Chuck Holton sent me here. Hello from West Virginia. Hello, all to the audience of Chuck Holton, my brother Chuck Holton, my mentor Chuck Holton. Taking the time, if you guys want to know what is going on in Israel, and Gaza, and the situation in Palestine, and ultimately the situation with war, the best war correspondent until this moment, it is Chuck Holton. Whether you like it or not, he's always there at the moment, and the most important thing about him giving you the whole glimpse of what is going on with Israel and Gaza, and Israel and Iran, and all this kind of stuff, and also in Ukraine. Chuck takes you to the history things, and that is the most important thing that I love about him. That he explains it so well with history that it goes hand in hand, and ultimately he's a Christian, so he explains also with the Bible. And I completely love that man. Really, he's such a it's a history book on walking, man. Really. So whoever wants to get the most better information on the war, on every situation of the war, go and follow the Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. And get every situation. When I was a funny story with him, we were in Israel. He invited me to Israel, and I went over there with him, and it was the best time, walking with him and learning from him. It's the best time ever. And we were just standing at a place, and I was recording on my own phone, and he was behind me, and he was doing some photographs and some video, and a tank just went by, a military tank. And I started saying, hey, this is a military tank that is for this, and that. And he immediately said, like, stop. And I'm like, what the? And he's like, that's not a military tank. It is a carrier. And I said, well, it's a tank. And he's like, no, Oscar, don't sound like a CNN stupid correspondent. Be correct with your terminology. This is a war. You have to be really correct. Language is extremely important. So I said, okay, I'm sorry, Chuck. What is the name? And it educates you. That's the most important thing about him. I love that man, really. He educates you so much. And he has the military background. He has written so many books, like 12, 15,000 books he has written. I love all of his books. Also, he's well grounded on everything. Every question that you want to ask him about the war, he will answer it. So it's more important that we learn from history also. That is extremely important, that we learn from history. And when you're watching him, you're learning actually about the situation, and you're learning from history. And it's really calm. So, follow him, Chuck Holton, Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. that is that is his YouTube channel. The Hot Zone with Chad Holton. Go over there and follow him. Uh, and just watch him. Also, he's CBN Christian Broadcasting Network correspondent. He has been there for many years with them. I think he's the best. Nobody else tops him on the war. The other day, I told him on a phone call. I said, "You're the best, Chuck. Nobody else." And he said, "No, no, I'm not." I'm like, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are." He's so humble to say, "No, no, I'm not." I'm like, "No, shut up, shut up, shut up, Ranger." I love him. Go and follow him. So it's nice talking to you guys. Thank you so much. There's a comment right here. I'm so thankful you tell all the facts. This is definitely deliberate to destroy sovereign countries. I so appreciate you, Chuck Holton, Ben, and other Christ followers sharing raw facts. Yes, education is so important. Yes. He's on Newsmax also. Yes, he's on Newsmax also. Yes. He's on Newsmax. Also follow him on Newsmax. He's a Newsmax correspondent. I forgot about that. Chuck Holton is the best Christian and war correspondent. Yes, he is. Love the Hot Zone, Chuck Holton. Also, you and Ben Berquam, thank you for bringing the real news. I'm going to be traveling soon with the White Giant soon. So be sure to be watching. I'm going to be traveling with the White Giant. You guys know who the White Giant is, right? It is Ben Berquam. So we're going to be traveling soon in the next incoming weeks. Be sure to be watching. It is going to be really interesting where we're going and where we are going to be headed into. We go into the epicenters of the places. So, that's one of the things that is extremely important. Japan is and has experienced in debt spiral on their interstates. Very difficult situation for Japan. I was talking to Michael Young yesterday. And he explained to me something about Japan that is going on over there. That China, it is buying some properties in Japan, something like that. I said, "What? That's really interesting, really, really interesting." So, uh, it's yes, Japan is going through some place, and Japan is one of the most greatest places to live, man. Right now, really, it's crazy, but Japan is really it's incredible to live over there. And that's a crazy thing. It's okay. To learn about how Israel was funded, you had to learn about the Ergon, Steering Gang, and the Hagag. Their leaders became Israel leaders. It's too much. I don't want to get into that. God bless you, Oscar. Hope and pray for your safety. You one of just a few truth speakers. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Follow me on all my pages. You can follow me at YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, Oscar El Blue. Search for it. TikTok is Oscar El Blue Reportero. It's more in Spanish. TikTok, I do only Spanish. We have almost 500,000 followers at TikTok. That's crazy. That is just crazy. 500,000. So it's overwhelming to have a lot of audience like that. This global compact is bringing down the rest of the world. Unfortunately, when the U.S. struggles, the rest of the civilized world does. God bless you. Stay safe. And like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our mission. Take care.